Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. Corey Seidman and Jim Salisbury here with you as always. And the Phillies are, Jim, in this series in Miami that did not get off to a good start. A loss in the first game against Trevor Rogers. The Phillies defense, again, not good. There was the play in left field, which we'll talk about, another error. As we sit here on May 25th, I looked it up on Baseball Reference. So the Phillies are negative 28 runs saved, negative 28 defensive runs saved, which is last in all of baseball. The rest of the NL East is plus 58. So this has really cost them early.
Yeah, it's funny. I was perusing the defensive runs saved myself. I was on Fangraphs this morning, and they were last in defensive runs saved as well. It has been glaring all season. Not so much even the errors. It's just the plays that are just a little bit beyond routine that good teams make, sharp teams make, they don't make. Case in point, second inning last night, Monday night, the D-backs score a run on a sacrifice fly from shallow left field. And, I would call Andrew McCutchen's throw not even really competitive, not strong, not competitive. Little things like that. Last week at Citizens Bank Park, a couple balls hit right by Alec Bohm. That above average third baseman make that turn into extra outs that ultimately lose your ball games. So not a good defensive team at all. And not sharp even beyond the errors. It's been a real flaw. They have not been able to hit over it. They don't do enough damage with runners in scoring position. And for that reason, have lost 7 of 9 with, one game down on the 9-game road trip. They don't play well on the road. Lost 7 of 9, have fallen to 4th place. Just, I think, a half game out of last place with 8 games left on the road, where I said they don't usually play well. I think it's safe to say they've reached a bit of a gut check here.
And they're against this Miami team that they just have not played well against. Sandy Alcantara going in game 2 of the series, probably their best starting pitcher. The Phillies 4-10 since Miami, since the start of last season. And that's really where things fell apart late last year. In 2020, when the Phillies were playing for their playoff lives and finished 1 game out, they can look at that final series in Miami as a big reason why. At this point, this is 3 years running now. You just have to wonder, are the Marlins just simply a better team or a team that's on par with the Phillies? I mean, certainly if you look at the standings the last 2 seasons, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, they were a better team last year. They're a better team right now, yeah. They got some firepower in that rotation. They got a few young players that I think any team would like to have. That Miguel Rojas is a hell of a player. I'd like to have him. I like Brian Anderson. They're a very solid club. And what I notice with the Phillies is Phillies make a lot of mistakes. The Marlins always capitalize. And the Marlins seem to play very loose against the Phillies. They seem to enjoy ruining the Phillies' day. And I actually think that can almost be akin to momentum. Maybe the Phillies expect something bad to happen versus Miami in Miami, and maybe the Marlins expect something good to happen when they play the Phillies. But, last year, 3-7, this year, 1-3 so far. Last year, it really scuttled their season during that road trip down there when they went 5-7, and not off to a good start last night. The lefty, Trevor Rogers, pitched another good one. Phillies were poor on defense. Marlins got big hits. The Phillies did not. That's how you lose ball games. The Phillies, they just can't get their whole team on the field. I mean, they're missing their 2 best players in Harper and Realmuto. Their shortstop is out. At some point, they need to get whole and get these guys on the field. All these little nagging little injuries are very much a concern. Harper's slump is very much a concern. He has sat out 2 games in a row now. This is a guy who hates to sit out. It makes you wonder if he's sound health-wise. Joe Girardi insists he is. But I wonder. I asked Joe Girardi about that almost every day. I said the other day, is Harper right? Oh, yeah. Last night, Harper healthy? Oh, yeah. We'll see. Maybe he'll be back in there on Tuesday night. I would expect him to be against the right-hander. But they need Bryce Harper to, when you're down like this, you need your best player to put you on your back for a few games and carry you, show you how to win again. And that's what they need from Harper.
Even if Bryce Harper's quote unquote healthy right now, I mean, he's got to be dealing with some lingering soreness. The guy's been banged up all season, it seems. He entered the season coming off back troubles. Then he got hit in the face and that ricocheted off his wrist and hurt his wrist. And then he dealt with a right shoulder injury. So even though it's only May 25th, even though we're only like just approaching Memorial Day, he's already been through a grind here. And JT Realmuto, who's been out for, the better part of 2 weeks, the Phillies have played 48 games. He's only started 29 of those 48 games behind the plate, because of injuries and just, off days here and there. But so since JT Realmuto has got here, so since he's been a Philly, the Phillies are 10 games over 500, 109 and 99 in games that he starts. And when he doesn't, they're 23 and 39.
I guess he's their most indispensable player, as we've written a number of times. They really felt his loss last year down the stretch. They're feeling it now. There's not catching in the major leagues in terms of, the good ones. The cup does not runneth over. When you have a good one, you're very fortunate because there's not just a ton of elite catchers in the game. And the drop off to your backup is significant with most teams. And the Phillies are feeling that. So Realmuto will be eligible to play on Saturday. And the hope is he'll be back. They really, really could use him.
It doesn't sound like Didi Gregorius' return is imminent, though. I mean, Joe Girardi said Monday that he's with them on this trip, but, it sounds like there's still swelling in that elbow, huh? And you asked Joe if he's going to need a rehab assignment, which, that could delay a return as well.
I would think he's going to need a rehab assignment. To me, that makes sense. Whether or not you send him to Florida, you get him some at-bats in an extended game, or you send him to Florida, get him some at-bats in a official minor league game, or Lehigh Valley, or wherever. I mean, this injury has really bothered him swinging the bat, so he's had to kind of shut down his swing. So I think he's going to need some time to build some swings and get his hands and his eyeballs all synced up. But he says he's got this swelling on the outer part of his elbow, not the Tommy John area. People still ask me if it's a Tommy John thing. He says it's not. It's an impact injury. It landed on the outer part of the elbow bone, making a catch last month, and it's lingered. So it's troubling that it's lingered so long. It's troubling that the swelling has taken so long to get out of there, and it's troubling that he hasn't swung a bat. And this is a game where you need to be able to swing the bat. That's pretty much his strength. So he's probably going to need time to continue to heal and then go out on a rehab assignment. We'll see when.
So it's been a lot of Nick Maton and Ronald Torreyes for the Phillies at shortstop. And, I know Ronald Torreyes isn't going to hit like he has this week all season long, but I got to say it's fun to watch a guy like that in 2021 because there aren't too many of them, guys who can go inside out or just put the ball in play. I mean, he's had some big hits here, line drives to center field, played mostly good defense. He did make a costly error in Monday night's game. What do you think the breakdown is at shortstop right now? Do you think it's going to be Nick Maton against righties and Torreyes against lefties?
If Joe's actions are evidence, you would probably say yes. But like you said, he played Torreyes against the lefty last night, made an error. Torreyes, I mean, he's a heady ball player. He comes to play. Yeah, the error hurt, but it happens, especially on this Phillies team. Making an error doesn't make him unique by any means. He really knows how to use the bat head for not a big guy. You watch the way he, gets the bat head out there, and he's not trying to lift it or anything, but he's trying to use that bat head as a weapon. He doesn't go up there and have like what I would call defensive at bats. He doesn't go up there and say, "Oh, I'm only 160 pounds. I'm just trying to have a defensive at bat." He looks like he's up there to hit a line drive somewhere. So I like him. I think he's a good piece on the bench. I like Brad Miller. He's a good piece on the bench. The problem is, when your bench players start being your regulars, you're in big trouble, right? It shows you have either injury problems or, in Bohm's case, lack of production problems. Like, I was thinking we might see Brad Miller at third base on Tuesday night against Sandy Alcantara, right-hander. Team in general struggles against right-handers, and Bohm has struggled against right-handers. He's in a funk anyway. Miller's swinging it pretty hot, hit his 100th career home run on Monday night. Joe has said he would try to ride that hot hand a little bit. That's what he was doing with Torreyes. So I expect him possibly to do that with Miller on Tuesday night. And I could see Miller playing either left field or third base. Third base probably makes the most sense to give Alec Bohm a little blow because he's been really scuffling.
And Brad Miller's been hitting a little bit. He's coming off the 100th home run of his career. He's hitting 329 here in limited time with 5 homers, 13 RBIs. And our friends at PointsBet have the odds for Brad Miller to drive in a run here in Game 2 of the Phillies Marlins series at plus 105. So slightly better than even odds there for Brad Miller to drive in a run against Sandy Alcantara and the Miami Marlins on Tuesday. Jim, let's get to a positive here. Zach Wheeler's been a humongous positive for the Phillies since he signed. He had another just dominant outing Sunday against the Red Sox, albeit against a Boston lineup that didn't have Xander Bogaerts or JD Martinez. So perhaps the afternoon would have went, slightly different if those two big bats were in the lineup. But I don't know. Wheeler was just more the same, that free and easy 98, 99, unleashed some curveballs, which we haven't seen much of him. And his curveball was pretty good against the Red Sox. And now you look up, if Zach Wheeler is 145 innings into his Phillies career, and he has a 2.65 ERA with a whip just over 1. I would say to this point, he's been everything that people projected he could be, that next level that he could reach.
And more, probably, and more. Because he was, coming out of the Mets, he was a guy who had some injury problems, injury history. He was a guy who had battled inconsistency. He was viewed as a guy that's ready to come into his own and become more healthy and more consistent. You were banking on upside, and all that's happened. He is a guy who appears to be ready to stay healthy. He has stayed healthy, ready to come into his own, be more consistent. He's been a terrific signing so far. He's been really, really good. I think you could say he's one of the top pitchers in baseball. It shows you what fastball command still matters. Fastball command is something that's very important for a pitcher. And when you can command a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, as he has and he does, you're really dangerous. And that's what he's done. Great control, keeps the ball on the ground, works quickly, a joy to watch pitch. But it just all starts with the ability to command a power fastball, and then drop some wrinkle in there, drop something, be it a sinker or a curveball. He's got the full assortment. He can do a lot of different stuff. So he's an impressive guy.
It's funny. I saw this picture got tweeted out last week. It was a picture of Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Matt Harvey, Steven Matz, Zach Wheeler, and Bartolo Colon standing on the mound when that group was all together. And someone retweeted it, and they put that Jacob deGrom in his major league debut averaged 93.1 with his fastball. This season, he's up to like 97.5 average with his fastball. And the comment was, he must be consuming the life force from the rest of this group. The other pitchers who have all kind of struggled over the years. Well, Zach Wheeler, I don't know. Zach Wheeler certainly separated himself from the rest of that group minus deGrom. You said he's been one of the best pitchers in the National League. I'd agree. I mean, since getting here, that ERA is 4th best in the NL. And to be able to just command that fastball, it's 98, 99 that does sink, or he can ride it up in the zone, go inside and outside with it. He's just been awesome. And, the Phillies have certainly got what they paid for. And, on the flip side, you look at the Mets, they made all those acquisitions this past offseason that we talked about, right? All those guys are struggling. Francisco Lindor, James McCann, Carlos Carrasco still hasn't gotten on the field. The Mets have 17 guys on the injured list, yet they are in first place in the NL East. So I guess the Phillies don't have that excuse to fall back on right now.
No, but the Mets have been decimated. They do get some good news Tuesday night. deGrom is coming back. He's supposed to come off the DL and face the Rockies. So, maybe they'll maintain their first place standing, because I think Jacob deGrom is the most impactful player in the National League East. You probably would argue that, but I do.
Jim, so over the weekend, Spencer Howard made his first start of the season. And in the first inning, 96, a lot. There was a 97 in there. First 2 innings, he struck out 5 batters. And then in the third inning, it was exactly what we saw last season with the fastball dropping to the low 90s. It went from 95, 96 consistently to 91 pretty consistently. And one of his final fastballs was at 90.4 miles per hour. After the game, Spencer Howard said that running down the first baseline in his first major league at bat kind of tired him out. He didn't get his heart rate down in time for the following inning. But, man, this has got to be pretty concerning for the Phillies, whether there is a reason for it or not, because this happened last summer as well.
it should be very concerning that a 24-year-old guy runs 90 feet and then can't either calm his body down or get it to go again and generate the velocity and pitch the way he needs to. I mean, they've treated him with kid gloves throughout his minor league career. They've treated him like a Ming vase, like tissue paper. Well, you can continue to pound that into a kid's head, and at some point they're going to act like tissue paper. They're going to act like a Ming vase. Get out there and throw the ball. I don't think the Phillies would have you on their active roster if they thought you weren't healthy. And you know, he has a history of shoulder. So you see this velocity drop and you think to yourself, well, is the shoulder okay? And then you say to yourself, well, there's no way they'd put this guy in the mound if his shoulder wasn't okay. So it's time you start carrying that velocity. And it's time you start, you know, carrying a competitive streak. And it's time you start dominating people the way they think you can with this stuff. And running out of gas because you ran 90 feet or 180 feet or whatever it was at age 24 years old, that don't cut it in professional sports. He needs to get on the mound if he's healthy. And like I said, they say he is. And I always defer to health. If you have a health issue, it's hard to be good at this game. But, you know, get out there, build a workload, focus on giving this team 6 innings. And if you're tired after running the bases, you can't slow your heart rate down, fix that problem and don't admit to it.
Right.
You sound silly.
I was going to say that, you know, it didn't make him sound good to admit that. I mean, even if the Phillies come out and just say, you know, it's something we got to look into again, it happened last year, and kind of remain vague with it, it probably would have been received a little better than coming out and saying that, because, you know, he's not the first pitcher who's ever had to run down the first baseline. And it's not like he was running 100 miles per hour to, you know, try to beat out a bang, bang double play. It's definitely concerning. I mean, have you ever seen this before with a guy who just comes up, who's unable to carry that velocity after the first couple innings? Because this has been consistent start to start since he first arrived last summer.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But, you know, when I hear a guy is wiped out after running, you know, I hear people bash baseball players all the time for not being athletes, for their athleticism or lack of it. And I always defend baseball players. I think a lot of them, the vast majority, are great athletes and great at what they do, playing the toughest game under the sun. But, you know, that just gives people who bash baseball players as athletes more fodder. I heard Gabe Kapler a few years ago referenced Zach Eflin had an at bat early in the game, I think against Ronald Acuna, maybe a 13-pitch at bat in the first inning that really knocked him off his pins and he ran out of gas after that. If I was a pitcher, I wouldn't want to hear that. 1, 2, I'd be embarrassed by it. So get yourself in shape or whatever it is. So 1 at bat, 1 inning, 1 sprint down the first base line doesn't wear you out. It just makes me wonder if you know, this kid glove treatment of him has been excessive, and maybe he hasn't developed a competitive streak to go along with that great stuff that he apparently can carry for 2 innings. It's time to increase both.
Well, I mean, in terms of the kid glove thing, I do agree with you, but it's worth mentioning that that happens in every organization almost. I mean, if you look across baseball, the young guys who just come up, they're not throwing 100 pitches per game. They're topping out at like 80 or 90, and they're getting an extra day here and there. I guess what the Phillies have done with Howard is a little different because they've monitored the innings and the pitch counts.
And I agree with all of that. You don't make dramatic jumps in innings. You've got to watch guys' health. Arm health is very important. There has to be a smart buildup of innings. But his is going very slow. Part of it is he's hasn't been on the field as much. I think you need to be careful with him this year, but it doesn't mean he shouldn't hold his velocity for 4 innings, which is not a lot. If he's only holding it for 2 innings, is he losing focus? Is he not bearing down? Is he not healthy? It makes you ask all those questions. And workload wise, I know he's only eclipsed 100 innings once in his career, but if he's going to be the guy he wants to be, a mainstay in a big league rotation, he needs to start building a workload now. I would think he needs to get 125 innings this year. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, he really hasn't had a season with that sort of workload. And if you're going to be able to someday throw 175 innings, you need some sort of foundation. I
Right.
thought it was interesting that Joe Girardi brought Spencer Howard out for the fourth inning in his first start because he really struggled in the third inning, and that's when the fastball was down to that 91 range, and that's when he gave up the runs, threw a lot of pitches, and then he comes back out for the fourth inning, pretty close to hit the innings, the pitch count limit the Phillies had him at. He walks the leadoff batter and he's removed. I mean, I wonder if that was some of just like, hey, we got to get this guy another up down. We got to get him out there for the fourth inning, just because of how much he has been to that point, kind of babied.
Well, they're trying to build him. They're trying to get performance and contribution from him to help win ball games in 2021. They're also trying to, player development doesn't stop at the big league level. They're trying to develop a major league starter, and he clearly has the stuff to be one. But the other quality he needs to develop is the ability to get through middle innings and build a workload. And you're not going to do that pitching 2 innings a night. So you need to get him 4. You need to get him 5 occasionally. You need to get him maybe even 6 on a rare occasion. Two is not enough if he's going to build a workload. And then you're going to have to ask yourself, well, can we really afford to have a guy going 2 innings every 5 days? It's going to kill our bullpen. He needs to build a workload for what it's going to do for him in 2022 and 2023 and beyond, so he can be the pitcher he wants to be. I see the drop in velo, and my first question is he healthy? And that would be your first concern. And they say he is. Okay, if he is, he needs to show more. He's too talented not to show more. He needs to carry his stuff a little bit better. And if he's asked to be a baseball player, i.e. run down the line, his body needs to recover the right way, whether it's his heart's going too fast or it's going too slow or whatever, or else then, you become unreliable. So it's time for him, regardless of where his pitch count is or his innings limit is, just to be reliable within those parameters. He's a really good talent, and I hope it works for him. But, boy, to hear some of that stuff the other day was head scratching and even a little troubling.
I asked Joe Girardi after that game, if Howard is sitting 92, 93, can he be effective? If he's not throwing 95, 96. And the reason I asked that is just because, I haven't seen wipe out secondary stuff from him yet. Sometimes you'll see a guy come up who has a big fastball and just an awesome slider. I mean, when Aaron Nola first came up, for example, the curveball really stuck out. With Spencer Howard, there hasn't been a secondary pitch like that. Have you seen one? I mean, have you seen flashes of plus?
Not here, but it's apparently there. I've heard his breaking balls wipe out, change-ups apparently wipe out. But, those are evaluations I heard from scouts and pitching coaches and people who watched him at the A-ball level. It's a different game up here, and his stuff right now is not matching what it was on the way up. So it's got to be a reason for it. We'll keep watching because eventually the reason will surface. It all comes out in the wash in this game.
Well, Spencer Howard is slated to start the series finale in Miami 12:10 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. He's going to remain in the Phillies rotation, it seems, because they need him to. Chase Anderson's in the bullpen, and he hasn't exactly looked great, and you have Matt Moore on the shelf. So Vince Velasquez is in the 4 spot, Spencer Howard in the 5 spot. Totally different than the way the Phillies began the season, and here we are approaching Memorial Day, and that's how the rotation is going to shake out. So thanks for listening to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. He's Jim Salisbury. I'm Corey Seibman. Talk to you later in the week.